Thank you all for being here. My name is Camillo Mejia. I joined the military in 1995 as an infantryman. And I deployed to the Middle East in March of '03, first to Jordan and then to Iraq in April of that same year. The beginning of my friction with the chain of command in my unit began before we actually deployed to the Middle East, when I made the decision that as an infantry squad leader, I was no longer going to physically punish the men under my command, and that I would no longer yell at them, but that I would instead establish a relationship based on respect. And that didn't sit too well with my platoon leader or my platoon sergeant at the time, because they felt like an infantry leader has to inject high levels of testosterone into his leadership style, and that in order to get your men to follow you and to respect you, you have to lower them to the level of your boots and humiliate them. And I started by saying that because I want people to know that the dehumanization and the disrespect and the humiliation that we are bestowing upon the people of Iraq does not begin in Iraq. It's not the result. It's not the result of people waking up one morning as monsters, but it's part of the culture. It's part of the military culture. They train us that way, and given the environment that we find ourselves in, all kinds of things that under normal circumstances would seem impermissible and objectionable become basically the norm. Because of the change in my leadership style, I was transferred from the platoon that I deployed to the Middle East with, which was 3rd Platoon. I was transferred to 2nd Platoon, but I retained my position as a squad leader, so I was still in charge of an infantry squad. I remember that as a squad leader, I had 2 team leaders under my command, and one of the people who has served under my leadership in the 1st platoon that I served in, which was 3rd Platoon, got into a firefight. That platoon got into a firefight, and after the firefight, when they left the area, they were being tailgated by this Iraqi, and he fired at him and hit him in the chest, and another firefight was triggered from that, and the man was not able to receive treatment for about 2 or 3 hours, and then he was medevaced from the area. About 2 weeks after that incident, I remember that they needed someone to drive the vehicle that this man had been in when he was shot, because the relatives were at the gate and they wanted their car back. So they asked me to drive it because I was the only person around who knew how to drive a stick. So I drove the car back to the ECP, the entry control point, and ran into this person who fired at him and who hit him in the chest, who had been one of the team leaders under my command in 3rd Platoon and who had been a very good friend of mine. And he said, "He's here." And I said, "Who is here?" And he said, "The man I shot." And I looked, and indeed he was there, and he had like a zipper-like scar on his chest. And this person looked at me and he said, "I know it's messed up, but I can't help feeling like I got cheated, because that was my one confirmed kill, and now he's here alive." And he realized what he was saying was wrong, but he couldn't help it. He couldn't help feeling that way. He couldn't help feeling that the fact that he did not take human life actually reflected poorly on him. Later, during our deployment, my platoon was tasked with the quick reaction force task. So we basically had to respond to any attacks that happened to any of the units operating in the area. And we received this call the first platoon had actually encountered some resistance during a raid. They had kicked down a door and gone inside of a house and taken chase after these two men. And then another one of our soldiers went into the house after them and saw that there was a brother of the two men coming out with an AK-47, and he shot him. So by the time we got there, there was really not much to be done other than secure the perimeter. And after that, we basically were tasked with transporting the two men who had been captured. I believe one was the cousin of the dead, and the other one was the brother. And we were basically guarding these two men, and we were guarding the body of the dead. And when we got to our base, we had to transfer the body from the 5-ton truck that we had into a Humvee, because the truck that we had was too big to fit through the gate of the hospital to get to the morgue. So they pulled the body by the feet and dropped it on the ground in front of the two relatives that were there, and everyone began laughing. And the shroud came off, and the same soldier who had been a team leader in my squad began laughing, and he said, "Oh, they really screwed you up, didn't they?" Of course, the language he used was much stronger, but don't worry, I won't say the word. And he just kept making fun of this incident, and then he stuck his hand in his cargo pocket and pulled out a disposable camera and threw it at someone. And he said, "Take a picture of me and this mother." And he started posing with the body. And I just could not conciliate the person that I had served with in Jordan and who had been so close to me, and the person who was there basically posing with this dead Iraqi person in front of his family.